Welcome back to the Live China Music Podcast. I'm Ellie Rosenberg, and my co-host here with me.
It's me, Will Griffith, everyone. Popping in. Howdy, everybody. It's good to be back.
You know what, Will? We were getting hundreds of thousands of listens during the Chinese New Year. Do you know why?
Yeah, you threw a word at me. China maxing?
Yes.
What is this?
I couldn't figure out what was going on. We had much more listeners than usually, and then I just doing the internet and Reddit thing and all that, and there's this thing about China maxing, and it was some kind of TikTok trend about trying to basically people being their best Chinese selves.
So does that mean like essentially people are jumping over the firewall to get back into the Chinese like internet ecosystem?
No, not at all.
Oh.
It's people taking on some of the most interesting aspects of Chinese life today, such as, I don't know, some examples were, I think, like wearing slippers at home.
Okay.
I'm guessing like being aware of your Chinese zodiac sign.
Yeah. Put on red underwear. That
Exactly.
Sort of
Yeah, that and kind of celebrating your Chineseness or things about China that you like.
Okay. And so you think this translated to like Spotify playlists?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, mostly it was on Spotify, and so there was the Chinese New Year. I think a lot of people are also reconnecting with their interests for China during the Chinese New Year, and that kind of connected as well with this China maxing trend. So if you happen to be some of our new listeners that kind of stumbled on to our podcast through this, welcome. We're happy that you're sticking around.
Yeah, China Max away, everyone. Just keep it going. Why not China Max through the whole 2026? Let's get at it.
Right on. And so this week we are having some more independent artists. We have 5 tracks today for everyone. Let's start up with Booma Bitz and the track Trader.
Flowers, treeless, glitter, that's all I know. Prayers, dreamers, shudder, that's all I know. Liars, cheaters, slaughter, you've been sold. Quicker, higher, expire. It's time to go.
This was Traitor by Booma Bitz from their LP, which was released on March 6th, Lions in My Skull.
So Booma Bitz is the new solo project from the lead singer of the 20s. Now, obviously, most of you don't know who the 20s were, but they are a pretty awesome Beijing-based, I guess I would say like guitar rock band who put out a couple great albums in the past 10 years. And so Findy, the lead singer, was inspired recently by a trip to the savannah and kind of locked in with kind of how animals act and how they create their own systems out in like in the wildlife. And so that was kind of the origin of this album, Lions in My Skull.
She mentions that it's a record of quiet friction, where there's tension between instincts and systems where you have to self-regulate. So I'm guessing she's drawing, parallels in modern society where we're always fighting with, our instincts and some wildness.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she mentioned like a very specific moment where she kind of like when she went, on this safari or whatever, and how she was kind of expecting something more, I don't know, a bit more wild from the animals. But what she saw instead was something very controlled, very quiet, and very alert. And so she was kind of, realizing like, oh no, this is like, they have their whole, very much their own system here. And it's very, very much in its own world, very, like, as you say, quiet friction.
Even where you'd expect, absolute wilderness and, even in that kind of a system, everything in that kind of a setting, everything is performed. Exactly.
But I mean, part of me like was not ready to see a project like this where you kind of are stripping back a lot of the kind of guitar melodies and whatnot that kind of propelled the 20s so much before. But I do think she does quite well just kind of putting all these other elements into the production. It kind of really does bring it to life. It has this very sound collage quality to it, kind of very DIY art pop kind of thing going on that I guess reminds me a bit of like Beck at his kind of more unhinged moments or whatnot.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, who she's worked with on this, because I know that she had a track under the Booma Bitz moniker that was published in a compilation by Modern Sky, but I can't see where this album has come out of. Do you have any information on this?
I mean, it's self-produced, and I know she had it mastered in the UK, and I have a feeling that a lot of this was put together during her travels abroad, and she was, doing school in the UK for a bit, and so I think a lot of this album came from kind of just, being by yourself, not having a band on hand to get into the rehearsal room and just kind of chipping away at this sound and putting it together piece by piece.
Yeah, and it is very different from the 20s sound that we've come to expect. But it feels like, it's definitely not an album from someone who's, just coming out of nowhere, or it's well produced and...
Yeah, it's very fleshed out, I would say. It does feel fully realized, and it does, she still has really good control of like melody, and just kind of that finesse that always worked in the 20s does translate very well here.
But in a more pared down kind of way, and maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say relaxed, but a slower tempo, maybe. Yeah,
it's a bit more lo-fi, even though some of the stuff she bring in is far from being lo-fi, but it does have this kind of lo-fi quality to it.
Well, that's lovely. Should we move on to the next track?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
This is Grace Latecomer with All That Is Solid Melts Into Air. All right. This was Grace Latecomer with All That Is Solid Melts Into Air from their new EP, Whisper. And that was released actually a little while back. It was released on February 10th. But we had so many tracks to cover, we didn't get to it. But we're catching up today. So the reason we got a chance to cover this episode is also because originally we were thinking of covering some tracks that just came out recently for this episode, but we realized we had to keep a few under our belt for a special Chunyo episode. Here we are with Grace Latecomer, which actually the Chinese name is Youya de Chidaozhi, so it translates more like elegant latecomer. But if you look them up in English, it's Grace Latecomer.
So Grace Latecomer are out of Suzhou. They've been around for a while, I found out. Actually, since 2005. But they kind of went on not exactly a hiatus, but they were just basically not doing anything for nearly a decade. Until they kind of like resurfaced a year or so ago. Their
debut album came out in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while back.
Wow, yeah, quite a while back. And so, a lot of these songs that are on this EP have kind of been, just sitting on the back burner, or they've been just there waiting for the next piece to be put in and whatnot. And so this track in particular actually kind of deviates from, their usual instrumental rock arrangements. And as they mentioned, like they're trying to go for something more evocative, more melodic, and more, I guess, just more emotional. And that's kind of how the lyrics came into this track in particular.
The lyrics, which we've excerpted, they come in at the end of the track, actually. But they were written by Suzhou from Chinese football.
So basically, yeah, the band had the vocal melody down all the way back in like 2014. And so they say they couldn't find the right words at the time. And so it kind of just remained unfinished for all these years until, as you said, they invited Suzhou to write the lyrics. And it kind of does give that, that lovely kind of gut punch of emotion in the kind of tail end of the song.
The title of this EP is really interesting because it's called, in Chinese, it's called Zhang Zhang, which literally means to talk about Zhang, as in the family name, the person Zhang. And this is a phrase that I wasn't aware of, but they explain is coming from Suzhou's history, where there was a historical person who controlled the city of Suzhou, where the band comes from, back in the Yuan dynasty, called Zhang Shicheng. But as happens a lot in dynastic histories in China, when he was taken down and a new dynasty came into power, a new ruler came into power, they wanted to erase all of the history from the previous ruler. And so it was basically a law that you were not supposed to even mention the name of Zhang Shicheng. And so Zhang Zhang, to talk about Zhang Zhang, was a very bad thing, and so it became a phrase in Chinese to say 别讲讲, don't talk about Zhang Shicheng, this person. And so to talk about Zhang actually became whispering of things we shouldn't be talking about, talking about confidential things, talking quietly or speaking in private, which I think is lovely as a title, and really connects as well with the main sentiment from the track as we get from the lyrics here.
We will fight till the end of time. We will fight till the day we die. It's the whole idea of like, these words, these fights will kind of just live on and, through time. Well, Whispering is released with 1724 Records,
Yes.
a label that we've talked about plenty of times, kind of the go-to for post-rock and instrumental rock in China.
Yeah. And they're steering their ship quite well. They're always doing great stuff and always happy to see a new release from this label, 1724 Records. And you were saying, they're on Bandcamp. Is that a fact? Do you have a link for me that I can double check?
Yes. They're on Bandcamp. You can find that. And supposedly, there will be a 10-inch release of this EP later this year, followed by a tour. So kind of looking forward to that. But the whole EP is really great. If you kind of like that kind of more kind of warm-hearted, more tender, I guess, brand of instrumental rock with nice layered arrangements and kind of a spring in its step, kind of this is for you guys.
So dig right in. You know where to find the Bandcamp link. It's in the show notes. Do go and support the artists if you can. Jump in on their Bandcamp and listen to it and share it around with your family, your cousins, your friends, your neighbor. So, from the great Latecomer to the new lady in town, the next track is Channel Me by Lady Lay.
我的牛仔旧旧的，皮肤也很干燥，我的指甲短短的，神经也超大条，我还有很多缺点，比如乱七八糟，可我是个天线装对了信号。Sometimes I get in trouble， most of them 都很讲礼貌，不喜欢人家吵，因为我知道。 什么我想要 When I walk across the stage I feel like I'm dead Whoa This one do it When I shake with my band Everybody just says yeah yeah This one do it 我的粗糙脸偷了我的思考他站在这里一切统统不打扰我3岁的时候就喜欢上台大跳走下台阶差点有一次被绊倒 Sometimes I get in trouble Most I 发呆狂乱焦躁
This was Channel Me by Lady Lay, and this is out of their new album 苹果上的包. In English, it's translated Jaguar/Apple, and that was released on March 11th. Hey, Will, do you like your music sassy?
Yeah. I mean, really, this whole album felt like a nice throwback to me to like the days of like just the early 2000s where all these commercial hits were coming out, where the iPod was everywhere, and you were just listening to everything from like the Strokes to the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And this is just sassy. This is very much an anthem, kind of like, I don't want to just say girl power, but it feels like something I just want to shout with my girlfriends out loud.
Yeah, and I think you have something there, because I got a touch of Brazil with this track. Do you know what I'm hinting at there?
Go on.
CSS.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that name in so long.
No, right? But I did feel like some some of that energy of it's a different thing, of course, but that the sassy but like girl power riot girl kind of thing.
Yeah, it would be easy to call this kind of music derivative, I suppose, but like this is just so well put together. It's just the production on it. It just kind of pops off of the out of your earbuds or whatever. And it's just kind of like her pop, this is pop music. It's rock pop, I suppose you could say, but like at the end of the day, this is pop music that's just done so well. You don't feel guilty for enjoying it, and it has this just nice attitude that shows like that this singer has real presence.
I don't know who their bassist is, but that bass on this track especially, but I think throughout the album is really good.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, this song, Channel Me, is kind of like as we said, like, it's like an anthem thing. She's singing about jeans, short fingernails, this carefree attitude, and this kind of just impulsive nature to just get out there on stage. Just, it's in her DNA, as she says. And, it's quite an impressive album. It's an album that I kind of find myself putting on repeat a lot. And, yeah, if you grew up in like the early 2000s, you're going to love this thing.
The title of the album is interesting as well because it's translated as Jaguar/Apple. But in Chinese, it's 苹果上的宝. It's the Jaguar on the apple. And it actually comes from a poem.
Oh, really? Which poem is that?
It's, well, the same title of the poem is 苹果上的宝, by someone called Lin Sui. And I'll put it in the show notes. It's kind of cool.
Nice. A nice pick-me-up track that I think is going to lead nicely into our next one. Another group out of Beijing. This is Agoraphobia.
Guangkong is the name of the band in Chinese, and the track is Guo Wang, the king. Well, this was Guo Wang by Guangkong. Title of the track is King, and the band is called Agoraphobia. And it's a single which was released March 17th, so this one is very fresh. You said this band is also from Beijing?
Yeah, this is a band that's they've been around for, I think over 10 years now. A band that's always been under the radar a bit. And they've kind of, been quiet. Like a lot, I think, this is a common thing with a lot of bands who are quite good, but they stick with their day jobs and they don't really, they don't attack a career as actively as other bands. And so they're kind of always there, but putting new music out every so often. But yeah, I was kind of surprised when I saw them pop up again last year with some new tracks. And so I found out that they had, they signed to Modern Sky.
Oh.
And so they have a new album out coming up in April on Modern Sky's sub-label, Trans MIB. I guess that's how you pronounce that one. And I think this is basically the fourth new single that they've put out. in the past few months. And so, I mean, this song is, or this sound is kind of quite nostalgic for me. This does remind me a lot of my early days of Beijing. It kind of has that endearing noise rock sound, very kind of scrappy, very volatile, but also has that, you know, that youthful kind of energy to it that makes it all more endearing. And I just, you know, I like how they're willing to just let these songs ride out, and at the 5-minute mark in this track, like, it really kicks into overdrive.
Yeah, and it's not that common now for bands to come out with 7-minute tracks, which is, you know, this one is a 7-minute track. I don't know, like long tracks, they have their place, you know, when not everything should be 2-minute 30.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it, you know, buy yourself time, give yourself the space. And I mean, if you're not in the business of trying to, like, you know, make that next big hit that's gonna, you know, be on everyone's TikTok videos, then, like, why not just allow yourself to just give the song all you've got?
Yeah, if you're not working the algorithm, you don't have to have your hook in the first 3 seconds and, you know, finish your track within 2 minutes. You know, you can take your time with it and let the song develop and say everything you want to say.
Do you know what agoraphobia means? What is it, agoraphobic?
Agoraphobia is a fear of crowds.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Yeah, pretty relatable. Pretty emo phobia, for sure.
Yeah, so there's definitely some emo accents, and like in the vocals, the way it's delivery. I don't know if that's something part of their, you know, if they've always been doing emo. I'm not familiar with the band, so does this album show a turn in terms of their musical style, or is it kind of coherent with what they've been doing so far?
Yeah, no, I would say this is a pretty good outline of what they do in their sound, for sure. And, like, I mean, it's emo just in ways that, I mean, it's baked into their DNA. I don't think it's something they're, you know, aiming for, as I don't think genres really pertain to bands like this, especially bands that kind of, you know, had these kind of humble beginnings and whatnot. I don't think it was something that was even in their mind at the time, but you can definitely hear, you know, there is a kind of, I don't know, earnest vulnerability to this kind of sound that, yeah. Okay,
well, very nice. And, you know, interesting to see Modern Sky also, you know, picking up, you know, bands. They're all over the place. You know, they have so many different artists. I don't know how they manage. I hadn't heard of the label Trans MIB.
Really? They've kind of jumped all over the place. I think they had a couple big electronic releases, like LST from last year. They had a, like, Domino Trigger at some point. They were supposed to have Dizong for a while. And so they were kind of like, in my mind, like the cool kid of Modern Sky, getting a lot of these bands kind of outside off the beaten path.
Okay.
And so it's always, I'm always excited when when they're putting stuff out. So in that regard, good on them.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Well, shall we dig a little deeper?
Oh,
and plunge.
I see this transition.
Deep,
lock it down.
Plunge into deep water.
Deep water.
This is the next band, and we're gonna have a good time. Have a good time is a track title. This was Have a Good Time in quotation marks by Deep Water 水太深. Doesn't feel like having a great time, eh?
Well, it's got that kind of sarcastic edge to it. This kind of melancholic, bittersweet energy that, you know...
It's a breakup song.
Like,
it's a breakup song.
I don't think it's a breakup song. I feel like it's just like...
Have you read the lyrics?
Stuck, yeah, I've read the lyrics. It's like we're stuck in this together. Like we're just gonna have to wade through this bullshit.
Wait a minute.
Time and time again.
I want to go through because I read that as a breakup song. Yeah, you said you'd love me forever. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
So you called me at midnight, said you weren't coming back.
You could read the notes I sent you.
Way to gaslight me.
But no, I am gaslighting you. But no. The way I read that is like the whole forever thing. You know, the idea that love is forever, the idea that like we're gonna be holy matrimony, that kind of ideal love is kind of bullshit at the end of the day. There's gonna be moments where it's rough. There's gonna be moments where it's just shit. Okay. But it's something that like, you just have to keep with. We got to drag each other down. I'm not saying it's ideal, like a positive song, but I think it's they're trying to find some kind of realistic angle here, or some kind of contentment with this arrangement between these two lovers.
Yeah, it's sad love, basically.
I mean, you've heard of Deep Water?
I have not. You always overestimate my knowledge. Will, you always should assume I know nothing and no one.
I mean, Chengdu, first of all, I figured at least with the Chengdu tag, it could have been fallen on your radar at some point.
Well, you thought wrong, Will.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm going to give you a little homework, and I'm going to ask you to listen to, some of their older stuff, because this to me has been one of those bands that I think at first I kind of felt like, they're making this too easy. Oh. This is too slick. It's too well produced. It's crafted too meticulously. But through over the years with this band, I've kind of come to realize like, oh no, these are just like one of the most dependable kind of dream pop bands out there.
So yet another brilliant outfit out of Chengdu.
Yeah. Another duo too, and I do think there is something to be said about like that kind of boy-girl duo that kind of makes these kind of musical projects really easy to put together and just kind of lock into a certain sound.
I think you said something, or you wrote something about Wangbo.
Yes, that is the guitarist of this band is Wang Bo, the vocalist Xiao Meng, and so it's kind of, this band's always been this core duo putting these tracks together, and they always kind of switch it up. They can go for something more acoustic, more romantic. Here they're kind of falling back into something a bit moodier, a bit kind of noisier along the edges. Very much taps into that Mazzy Star kind of sound from the mid-90s or something that I kind of am a sucker for.
So yeah, this is from an EP, and the EP is also titled Have a Good Time in quotation marks, and there's 2 more tracks in this EP. Yeah.
Dig into their catalog. I think one of my favorite releases last year was also an EP from them called Roving. And, but really just a really consistent band. Also, yeah, the whole label, I think, so they just got off of Ruby Eyes.
Oh, okay. So Ruby Eyes.
And so now they're now with a brand new label that, I mean, they're still working with Tai He in some capacity. But with this release, and a lot of their promo now is being done under a label that I've never seen before.
DZ Records. Yun Yun Champion. DZ Records. Okay, well, let's keep an eye on DZ Records.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that does it for us for today's episode. We had 5 tracks, a few from Beijing, from Chengdu. Where else did we go? Is it Booma Bitz is Beijing as well. And
we went to Suzhou.
Suzhou.
Don't forget about Suzhou.
Yeah,
Don't
Suzhou.
forget about Suzhou.
That's right.
We all love Suzhou.
Lakes.
And good Lord, let's just assume Findy is still in Beijing. I have no idea where she is, actually, to be honest.
What band are you the most excited about for Chunyo?
Good
searching.
question.
Googling.
Looks at the lineup. Oh, shit. Okay. I'll be honest. I think I am most excited about some of these, not smaller acts, but I'm excited about like acts that you've been a part of, that you've known before, like Run Rabbit Run.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Hex and Sparkle.
Yeah.
Who we covered last year. And so I'm very excited for like a lot of these kind of live electronic punk acts, I guess that you could call them, on the smaller stage. The big stage, it's a lot of bands that I've seen before. And so I'm kind of happy that they're there, and I'm going to pop in and check out them. But like I do want to be surprised. So I'm more excited to kind of venture to these medium stages and see acts there.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over the place all the time. So you're just running from stage to stage. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really keen to see Cola Ren as well, because I don't know how her live set, goes these days.
I
haven't seen
she's
it.
She's first.
I mean, first.
I think she's like the first act on a Sunday, which means she's just gonna be DJing.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm keen to see the live set she's gonna propose for a festival. It's difficult, on a festival, if you're doing, music like came out on her latest album. So I'm just curious about that. There's a dub guy from France called Pila. I'm curious to check out. There's this, I think I'm going to say. There's
another French guy that, that I looked up. Chris Impler. Is it Chris? I wish I had all this stuff in front of me.
Okay. Well, we can talk about it next episode. We can get into more detail. We'll have dug into the schedule, and we'll have our itineraries of where to run from at what time, and all of that good stuff.
Oh wow! Because there's like a new venue opening in Hangzhou, and they're doing like a big festival next month called UN !
Is that related to the UN Me Festival in Beijing?
No. This is just the letter U, the letter N,
and an exclamation
point, which is a terrible name because there also is a venue in Hangzhou called Uni, UNI, which is crazy.
And Vox is celebrating their 21st anniversary, I think, this weekend. Yeah.
And Chongqing has their punk festival this weekend.
Right.
The Nuts have their new venue next month.
Yeah, it's a new year. It's popping. It's happening all over the place.
A lot of great bands at Chunyo. Very excited for that. I think in the next couple of weeks, I'm kind of going to be doing a deep dive in a lot of those acts. And I always get excited about just kind of mapping out my whole schedule.
Yeah.
Popping around. And so going to be doing a lot of that OCD shit.
Yeah, that's how you enjoy it the most, though. Like you've prepped it, and then it all goes to pandemonium once you're into the fray. But it's so much fun. I'm looking forward to it as well. Okay, that does it for us. Thank you so much for being with us on the Live China Music Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the 5 tracks we introduced today.
Be sure to check out the links, of course, as always.
If you have a minute, click on that follow button. Leave us a comment. We're always interested in hearing from you guys. Let us know.
Always.
What your thoughts were. And take care.
Yeah. Enjoy your weekend, Ellie. And everyone else. Because, this comes out Monday. Enjoy your week. That's the Live China Music Podcast. Till next time, I'm Will.
I'm Ellie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.